Hello. We are still about 9 months away from the NFL Draft 2026 here in Pittsburgh, but many local businesses have already been picked. They're part of the 2026 NFL Draft Source program. We're talking with representatives from the Steelers, Visit Pittsburgh, and a local supplier about how it all works. And a major change to the 988 mental health crisis line is impacting the LGBTQ community. We'll talk to the Hugh Lane Foundation about the help that's still available. Plus, the Vibrant Index 6.0 is out. What is it and who made the cut? The president and CEO of Vibrant Pittsburgh is here to answer those questions. So pull up a chair and meet us at the corner. Intersection starts right now. Hello, I'm Lisa Smith, the Director of Community Impact at KDKA Plus and the host of Intersections. Planning for the 2026 NFL here in Pittsburgh is well underway, and that includes leveraging a number of local and diverse businesses for the event. The selections have been made for the qualified vendors who are now eligible to do business with the NFL, the Steelers, and other teams and partners. Here to share more about the process and what it means to be part of this database are Matt Wilson. He is the Director of Diversity and Inclusion for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Derek Dawson, Vice President of Strategic Initiatives with Visit Pittsburgh, and one of the picks, Ime Alaquiva, an Emmy Award-winning, Webby Award-winning filmmaker, photographer, director, and visual artist. Thank you all so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Matt, let's kind of start with you. Tell us a little bit about this NFL Draft Source and how it works.
Sure, Lisa, thanks for having me. So the Draft Source program, it's an NFL-led initiative, and we're part of the local organizing committee. Derek Dawson with Visit Pittsburgh, they've spearheaded the local organizing committee, and the Steelers are really in a secondary role in supporting as well as we can. But it's a procurement program really to benefit local and diverse businesses and really give them an opportunity to support the NFL draft and beyond.
Yeah. So Derek, there's a lot of focus on minority suppliers. Tell us a little bit about why that's important for this process.
Well, it's a priority of the NFL, really, and something that we want to support here in Pittsburgh. We've got some amazing, diverse businesses here in the 10-county region, which is the area in which the NFL Draft Source program sources from, and we want to be able to allow those businesses the most opportunities possible to engage with the draft, to engage with the NFL, and generate some revenue for themselves based off of that.
So what were some of the different categories, I guess, that you guys were looking for in terms of these suppliers?
Yeah, it's really across the board from an event standpoint. So think things like fencing, security, golf carts, food and beverage, electric work, photography and videography like Ime does here. Really anything that could touch a major event like the NFL draft, they're looking for local and diverse suppliers to help out with.
Yeah. So Ime, you were one of the vendors, local vendors selected
Yes.
for this program.
Yes.
What is it like doing this work and interacting with the NFL?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just remarkable to be able to be a vendor, to be able to document through photography and videography. And, it was something that, you think of when you think of the city of steel, one of the strongest materials. When you think of the steel, you think of the steel in people. And we sit here and we go through the motions of trying our very best to get these contracts. And then when we get these contracts, it's time to show up.
Yeah.
So for your mom's house to be picked and to be a beneficiary on making the city a more vibrant and a better place is astronomical.
Yeah. So Ime talked about being picked. So what is that? What was that process to be picked, and what does being picked mean? Because I know it doesn't mean you automatically get a job.
Yeah.
You still have more work to do. So kind of tell us, what is this process that you guys had?
So the NFL has a very thorough vetting process, and we received a record number of applications during the 1 month application period for the Draft Source program. The Pittsburgh local business community really showed up and showed out. We had over 1,700 applicants, and it was a very competitive process. And so what it really means to be in the Draft Source program is the businesses that were selected are business ready. They are part of the 10-county region, including Allegheny County and the surrounding counties. It's really a good representation of the entire region. And this is such a great event. The Steelers and Visit Pittsburgh, we're all so excited to have the draft, and it's really going to put Pittsburgh on a global scale and really show everything this great city has to offer.
Yeah, I understand that there was something like 160 vendors selected to be part of this database, and that's like the largest group that they've ever seen. What does that mean that Pittsburgh has that level of quality vendors who are ready and willing to do and be a part of this process? What does that mean?
Well, it's really one of the main reasons that the NFL picked Pittsburgh to host the NFL draft. They saw that we are a collaborative community, a community that has the capability to host the NFL draft, and a community that has the communications to bring in that amount of businesses, a record amount of businesses to apply for the program, and then a large amount of businesses to actually be accepted into the program as members. Yeah. So it's really top to bottom one of the reasons in which Pittsburgh was chosen.
Yeah, and it may for you, I mean, you probably went in, thinking, oh wow, the draft is coming to Pittsburgh too. Oh wow, I'm going to possibly be working with the draft. What does that mean for you to go from being a spectator to the possibility of being part of this whole plan?
Well, this is a total dream, and this could be life-changing for a vendor chosen, and even for the individuals that haven't been chosen. When you think about the city of Bridges, and the connectivity, we could hire other, minority businesses even through our contract. So I just want individuals to know that this process was incredible to be chosen out of 1,700 individuals. And for the NFL draft to select Pittsburgh, a small town that was built for horse traffic originally, we are on the cusp of something incredible. And no telling what's coming after the NFL draft. This is just the start.
Yeah, yeah. So this is just the start. What happens next? what are the bids going out? How do people who have been or who are already part of this process, how do they bid on work that is needed? How does that work?
So the NFL draft is a unique and different event every year in each city, and so the needs change every year based off of the event and the setup, but the run up to the event stays pretty consistent. And so throughout the next few months, we'll have capacity building workshops, we'll have town halls. We're actually doing one-on-one individual phone calls with every member of the NFL Draft Source program to make sure that we best understand what their capabilities are, their main capabilities, and if they have secondary capabilities, understand that as well. So that's what the next few months look like for us as a local organizing committee, as a membership base. And then we get into the period where RFPs, requests for proposals, will come out from NFL vendors and folks that are actually building out the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And at that point, the members will have opportunities to propose their business as a solution.
Yeah, well, it's so exciting, and I thank you all so much for being with us and explaining this and just giving people a look behind the veil of what is happening while we're waiting for that date coming up next year. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Appreciate you.
All right. Well, coming up, how are local companies doing with their DEI efforts in the current climate? The Vibrant Index 6.0 tells us. Intersections will be right back. Well, this marks the 6th year that local companies have participated in Vibrant Pittsburgh's Vibrant Index. It's a process that measures the strengths and opportunities for employers as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The results are out, and joining us to talk about what this year's report shows is Sabrina Saunders Mosby. She is the president and CEO of Vibrant Pittsburgh. Thank you so much for being with us again.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So tell us, for people who maybe maybe still aren't familiar with Vibrant Pittsburgh and what you guys do, kind of give us in a nutshell what you guys do.
Absolutely. So Vibrant Pittsburgh is an economic development nonprofit organization, but we're a membership organization, and we support the efforts of our region's businesses in building more inclusive workplaces.
Yeah. So I was looking at the summary that you guys put out for this year. This is the 6th year, right?
This is the 6th year.
And so at the back of the summary, there was a letter that you wrote, and I want to show our viewers a little bit of what you said in there. It says, there are moments in every organization's journey and every region's history that quietly ask, who are we really, and what will we choose to stand for when the world around us grows uncertain? Is this that moment?
It certainly is. And I would say that we have been in moments like this before, maybe not in my lifetime, but perhaps in the lifetime of those viewers that are watching. And it is going to tell us who are we, and our children and their children will look back and they'll be able to determine exactly the answer to that.
Yeah, because the idea is to gauge how employers are geared towards having an environment that is helpful, is nurturing, and professionally developing for minority workers. And so you have 9 areas that you look at. Tell us a little bit about those 9 areas.
Sure. So the Vibrant Index, which essentially takes the pulse of how organizations are faring as it relates to their practices and policies related to workplace inclusion, is what we measure. And so there are 9 pillar areas, and it includes things like leadership, benefits as well, written commitment. We look at things like talent engagement and recruitment, supplier diversity. And so over those pillar areas, we're asking employers to highlight areas that they're investing in, and we also can examine areas that they need to invest further. And so it really is a mirror, and it's a mirror for the environment and the culture that's being developed for all employees.
Yeah, and they're self-assessing, is that right?
They are. They are self-assessing, and so we have an opportunity to look at this from a qualitative and quantitative perspective.
Yeah. So there were some takeaways that you guys pointed out. Last year there were 100 participants. This year the number was 60.
Yes.
What do you see in that difference between last year and this year?
So I'm still very optimistic, right? So yes, we did see a decline in participation this year from 100 last year to 60, still above our inaugural year. It's crazy to think that it's been 6 years, but still above our inaugural year. But in this moment, when the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion is under national scrutiny, to have 60 companies show up transparently to engage and to do this self-examination shows progress.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we did see a decline, and there are a variety of reasons for how and why organizations chose not to participate this year, and we were able to examine that as well, which is why it was important for us to continue to present and make available the index this year.
Yeah. One of the things also, though, that you saw was 64% had rising star status. So
Yes.
tell us about that rising star status and why that matters.
So Rising Star is new this year, and we kind of did a self-examination ourselves in the 6th iteration, considering what was happening in the world and some of the challenges and uncertainty that we know is in place within the workplaces. We wanted to really acknowledge the efforts of organizations that have participated for multiple years and show their growth. Because it's not just about how you score on this, right? It's not a test that we're, like a gotcha moment.
Yeah.
It's about growth, and it's about intentionality and investment. And so yes, we saw, and this is for returning participants, and so we did see an increase in growth in these pillar areas for 15 out of the 18 returning members of Vibrant Pittsburgh that have participated. And so that's a good sign, right? It's a good sign that the index mirror is working, that this examination is helping organizations rethink their policies and their processes and implement new ones to really support all of their employees.
Yeah. So before we go, we know that you guys look at your Vibrant Champions, and there were several this year. I think 8?
There were 8.
8. So tell me a little bit about some of them or all of them in like 1 minute.
Oh, absolutely. So we did have 8 champions this year, and it's always good to see returning champions like CCAC and UPMC. We also had Shell Games and Achieva, who were champions this year as well. Women's Shelter and Center were also champions this year. And what's important about the champion status is just recognizing organizations that have achieved at the 95th percentile across all of the pillar areas. And this year it was 7 out of 9. We did de-risk the assessment to make things a little bit more balanced for organizations considering the climate.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate the work that you're doing and that people are able to see this. And so thank you for coming in, and we'll look forward to next year's report.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Thanks, Sabrina. And coming up, how the LGBTQ community is adjusting to major changes in the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Intersections will be right back. Well, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline 988 has literally been a lifeline for millions of people since it started 3 years ago. And it included a key feature, mental health counselors available with specialized services specifically for LGBTQ youth. That option, though, is now gone, eliminated when no additional federal funds were allocated to keep it running. So what happens now? Sarah Rosso is Executive Director of the Hugh Lane Wellness Foundation, which provides a number of services and resources for the LGBTQ community, as well as training for organizations. And thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us today.
Absolutely, thanks.
Yeah, so, there was so much excitement, really, I want to say, when 988 first rolled out. Tell us about why that feature for the LGBTQ youth was so important and embraced and celebrated, really, when it happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So, 988 was a really important way that folks could just have a simple 3-digit number to call, and then the option 3 for LGBTQ youth was a direct link to trained counselors who had additional expertise and training to support LGBTQ young people across the variety of reasons why they might be experiencing crisis in the moment. And so what we know is that those crisis counselors were trained to deal with some of the unique needs of LGBTQ youth, right? The things that other crisis counselors likely would not have had training in. So coming out, dealing with family rejection, dealing with bullying or other issues around their experiences. And so that option 3 was really crucial and a life-saving measure for youth.
Yeah, and the Trevor Project was one of the organizations that was very instrumental in providing those counselors. Is that?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Trevor Project has been around for 27 years. They provide best practice crisis counseling, and they were really instrumental in the rollout of that program and have helped train other organizations to be able to provide that specialized service.
So had there been a push to include this element with 988 initially? Do you know?
Yeah, so when 988 first started, it actually started with bipartisan support because suicide prevention and keeping all young people safe and alive is not politics, it's not partisan, right? It's just a basic safety net and crucial safety net for young people. And so when that was passed, there was broad support for it because some populations need a little extra specialized support to help them through that. So for example, veterans are another specialized option that was created as part of the 988 rollout.
Yeah, and I checked the website for Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. There have been nearly 1.5 million calls for that, the pick 3 or the press 3 option. So now that, and we want to say 988 is still around. People can still call. But what adjustments maybe are being made within the LGBTQ community so that there is still that more specialized option for young callers who really need to talk to someone who has a specialized understanding.
Yeah, I think it's important to share for any LGBTQ young person that's watching right now, just that there are millions of people that support you. There are still resources available. If you need help, please do reach out. You can still call 988. But if you are looking for specialized LGBTQ crisis counseling, the Trevor Project continues to provide that support 24/7. So you can reach out to the Trevor Project at any point to access one of their trained crisis counselors.
Yes. And we're showing that information right now on our screen. Their website is thetrevorproject.org/get-help, which will take you directly to where you can, I guess, use a chat feature if you're on your computer. And then also they have a phone number, which is 866-488-7386. And then they also have a text feature, start to 678-678. So now that, you know, there is not the 988 source for that particular service. Again, we want to say 988 is still around. People still can call 988. But some areas, some states like California, they're looking at creating their own number or their own hotline. Are you hearing anything like that for Pennsylvania, or is there talk around trying to replace what was available through 988 here locally?
Yeah, well, I certainly hope so. I don't think we have any knowledge or awareness of that now, but what I do know is that in the past, the state of Pennsylvania has asked Tulane and others like us to provide some curriculum and some specialized training for staff to be able to better respond, regardless of how a person identifies in a crisis, right? And so I think that there's an opportunity there for us to find creative solutions to support youth who might be experiencing crisis. Again, we know that 988 is still available, but we also know that LGBTQ youth are much more likely to experience suicidal ideation, are at 4 times greater risk to attempt suicide, and we also know that there are limited access to resources. So this was a really crucial service, and losing this is something that we should be paying attention to. And there are lots of ways that folks can get involved, lots of ways that they can make sure that those resources continue, to get involved with local community, to advocate for the state to support those resources continuing in new and innovative ways, to assure that training is happening for crisis counselors. So there's always more we can do.
Yeah, well, thank you again so much for coming and sharing that information, because it really is important.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
And we also want you to know that you can still call or text the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. And I will have my last word when we come back. Vibrant. Just the word alone floods your mind and senses with an expectation of something colorful, brilliant, exciting, energetic, and illuminating. Things that are vibrant are so alive that they draw you in to see more and want more. The opposite of vibrancy is dull and lifeless. There's even science behind the impact of vibrant colors, for example, on the brain. Memory can increase, the mind is stimulated, and feelings of joy emerge. Seems like vibrancy is something we all should want. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Intersections.